Helmut Marko has been talking lately about Max Verstappen maybe leaving Red Bull before the new car rules start in 2026. And it really looks like this could happen for the three-time world champion. This is because Red Bull's cars have gotten much slower over the past few months, and the team didn't listen to Max when he told them about the car's shaking problems. Marko's words make a lot of sense right now, and with Aston Martin getting better engineers and Honda joining them in 2026, this might be where Max and his loyal friend end up next. It's pretty safe to say that one of the biggest failures in Formula One lately is Red Bull, and while many people would be shocked by this, Max Verstappen and his dad Joes aren't surprised at all. Max kept saying these problems were there since the Miami race, but because he was still able to win some races he wasn't supposed to win, the team didn't really think they'd get caught and lose both championships. This is something Marko thinks will be really important when deciding what Max does next. Because it's not just that the car got slower, the team has done some pretty sneaky things that Max wasn't part of, like lying about Ricciardo being his teammate from the beginning, and not listening to what Max said about the car's problems, and just depending on how talented he is. Talking more about what's happening. The experienced Austrian guy said Max will drive for Red Bull Racing next year, but 2026 is so far away right now, and they're completely focused on winning the 2024 World Championship, even though not many people thought Max would be in trouble in the Driver Championship with his huge 78-point lead before the second half of the season. The Dutch driver has lost 16 points to Norris in just 2 races, and it could have been way more if McLaren had better strategies in Monza. No matter what, the next 2 races are ones where many people expect McLaren's superfast car will dominate again, and Max will lose a big chunk of his lead. Red Bull's failure in the team championship is now as obvious as looking at the clear sky. Max himself said that with the current car they have, they won't be able to win any race until the season ends, while Marko said they should start getting competitive again around Austin, which happens in October. So the meeting Red Bull will have after the Singapore race is definitely going to answer questions about Max's future sooner rather than later. But what Max thinks about the team and the car is far from good, and even though he's putting all his energy into fixing the car's balance, there comes a time when you just get hurt because nobody is listening to what you're saying as much as they should. Talking more about the next few races and how the car's balance is the team's main problem, Max said he thinks right now on most racetracks their main issue is the balance. The ride can be made better on every single track naturally, but on the street tracks that really shows up more. Right now they are not the fastest car even on a normal track, so he doesn't expect Singapore to suddenly be amazing. It's not going to just flip around in Singapore for them. Another really important thing is that Marko has talked about key people leaving Red Bull, and while he didn't want to admit that one person leaving might have hurt more than others, the experienced Austrian was sure that the team is really affected by this huge wave of experienced engineers and important people leaving the team. It does seem like Adrian Newey announcing he was leaving around Miami and Red Bull starting to fail around the same time is way too big of a coincidence to just accept as random timing. When talking about this, Marko said it's obvious that the drama inside the team didn't help, but in the end, it has nothing to do with their technical problems. It's more about important people leaving. If certain workers want to leave and get a good offer or see a new opportunity, they take advantage of it. In Austin, they have to show that they've managed the turnaround. Joes Verstappen hasn't been shy about commenting on the whole situation either. The father of the 3-time world champion said Max already told them at the beginning of the season that the balance wasn't right. That wasn't brought out because you try to keep that inside, but back then he was already complaining about the balance. Only they didn't really believe it or they didn't see it back then, and now you're actually a little bit too late. The updates they brought didn't give what people expected. And that's why as a team you stand still a bit while other teams are making really big steps. To stand still is to go backwards, especially in Formula One. The coming time doesn't look positive either. The races follow each other really quickly. And he doesn't think the team has really found a solution yet. This is something that would be a massive challenge because the team is basically racing with the same car parts they started the season with in Bahrain and kept using until Imola, while the rest of the teams like McLaren and Mercedes have managed to find a lot of speed from their new parts. On the other hand, Honda leaving in 2026 and joining forces with Aston Martin will also play a huge role in where Max would end up in the near future. Because if we think about it, Mercedes might not be the favorite to sign the three-time world champion because of the current situation. The silver arrows are in. 3 just doesn't go into 2. And with Antonelli being confirmed from 2025 onwards, the only way that dream lineup would happen in Toto Wolff's mind is if he gets rid of Russell, who is now going to be the expected leader and mentor for the team from next season. If Antonelli doesn't prove to be an absolute beast and outperform his teammate completely, this could then open up the door for a shocking move for Max and Russell's seat, which is kind of hard to understand and accept because the situation in Aston Martin is a bit more up in the air and easier to understand when it comes to the driver idea. Alonso is getting close to the end of his career, while Lance Stroll is not the driver you'd bet your money on to win a championship with the right car. So Lawrence's choice might be easier to make than Toto's, even though the entire project revolves around Lance, and here is the main reason why his father is even in the sport in the first place. There might be some hard choices that the Canadian billionaire would have to make in the following time that would come at the expense of his son, obviously the complete rebuild of the entire factory in Silverstone and bringing top-quality engineers like Enrico Cardile, Andy Cowell, and more recently, Adrian Newey is going to get the attention of a driver like Max, who might get convinced by Newey thanks to the working environment that the engineer will create around himself, unlike the role in Red Bull, which started to fade away slowly but surely to a consultant. It's believed that he'll have a great say in where engineers are placed and how departments are structured, which is something that Max will really love. This could then pull his father and Helmut Marko to the team as well. And given the fact that the rules are very tight right now and speed cannot just be found out of thin air, trying out an idea that was not very well accepted by Mercedes. Red Bull are definitely in big trouble when it comes to keeping their experienced workers, as well as their superstar drivers. The fact that Perez said he and Max are now in the same boat with the car's issues goes to show that for the first time, the team has made it public that the car is not where it needs to be. And when you are not competitive on tracks like Monza and Spa in terms of race speed, then you don't have a lot to feel good about around the high downforce tracks that are coming next, such as Singapore and Baku. The Singapore race is one where Red Bull struggled massively and got both of its cars kicked out of the second qualifying round even when the car was at its most dominant peak in 2023. And it was the only race that wasn't won by the RB19. So we can only imagine where the team will end up with the current struggles in a couple of weeks. With all this in mind, do you think that Max Verstappen will leave Red Bull sooner rather than later? And more importantly, do you think that it would be a right decision to make for his career? The engineers haven't really listened to his feedback properly in a similar way to how the engineers at Mercedes didn't listen to Hamilton's input. Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.